Each and every Wednesday, we get more into Eagles football and other topics with the one and only Dave Weinberg each week right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, as we are hours away, not days, we're hours away from Eagles back on the field. And actually, the first preseason we've seen in 2 years. And Dave joins us right now on the show, live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Dave, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And before we get to the particulars, is there a part of you that when there is a game coming up that you get a little more excited, a little bit more interested? Like, people always say, I can't wait for football season. But now that football is actually within reach, it's actually something tangible, does it feel different?
Not so much for the preseason, Josh, to be honest with you. I've been to a lot of them, and the first quarter or so is usually pretty interesting, but then after that, it kind of the excitement kind of fades a little bit. I mean, I'm really anxious for the regular season to start, though. It's been a long time, and I guess maybe the preseason's a little more interesting this year because, like you mentioned, we didn't have one last year, so I am anxious. I'm excited to see some of the players in action on Thursday night.
Yeah, for me, David, it's a curiosity thing. I'm
sure.
curious to see the Nick Sirianni era. I'm curious to see Jalen Hurts in his fourth different offense in 4 years. I'm curious to see the no Y9 defense anymore, right? To me, it's a curiosity factor. Like, I'm not going to buy or sell anything at the sports book based on the game tomorrow night. But, to me, it's just, I guess the word I would use is I'm very intrigued by a lot of what ifs.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, you're not going to see a whole lot of creativity from Nick Sirianni or Jonathan Gannon. I mean, teams tend to keep things pretty vanilla in the preseason, give guys just enough that they can handle for a week, and then they'll expand it as they go. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this is Nick Sirianni's first opportunity to show what he can do as a new Eagles coach, and I'm looking forward to watching that too.
Now, one of the things that I was saying before you came on, Dave, is I want to know what this group looks like out there because we've heard all reports from camp, and you've seen numerous Eagles training camps over 25 years covering the Eagles, and we hear all these things that happen in camp. This guy's playing well, the defense is playing well, whatever it may be. So how translatable is what has been seen in camp to what we actually see on the field?
That's interesting you bring that up. I don't really read a whole lot into what happens in training camp only because we'll say the offense is doing terrific. Well, does that mean that the Eagles defense sucks, or does that mean that the offense is very good, and vice versa? If the Eagles defense is dominating, does that mean the Eagles offense is lacking, or does that mean the defense is really ready to roll? So the fact that they're going against another team, that'll give a really good read as to, what the status of the team is, how the progress that they're making or lack thereof. Just going against a guy and wearing another uniform is a big deal. I mean, it's been a while since they've had a chance to do that. So I will read more into what happens in the preseason than I would during a training camp, by and large.
I'm glad you said that because, one of the things that's been coming out of training camp is how well the defense is playing on the flip side of what you said. And that, one of my questions is, well, is the defense playing well because the offense is still getting their feet wet, or is the defense playing well because, Jalen Hurts is in his fourth different offense, or is the defense playing well because Nick Sirianni is still installing the offense, whatever it may be? Like, sometimes I feel like we see things happen in a practice or a camp, but it's not always applicable in the game. So that's why, to me, I'm with you. I think tomorrow is going to give us a lot more information than we've had the last 2 weeks.
Right, like in training camp, I mean, the defense, they've been around the Eagles offense enough to know what's coming so they can anticipate and capitalize on that kind of stuff. Plus, the Eagles offense is kind of a work in progress. I mean, Jalen Hurts got off to a very slow start. He reported to camp out of shape. Devontae Smith is on the sideline, so you're not going to know what he's going to do. So, they've been mixing and matching a lot of stuff. So it's really hard to say what the Eagles offense is yet, and you probably won't know for another couple weeks.
Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Give him a follow there. Dave, one of the other things I'm curious about, I mentioned with Jalen Hurts just a moment ago. I think one of the things that gets overlooked is that this will be his fourth different offense.
Mm-hmm.
This will be a young man who he didn't really have an offseason last year, not a traditional one, to say the least. And let's be realistic. The NFL is different than college. People can say all they want, but the game speed is different. The way you have to process is different. And listen, I love him as a leader. I love his personality. I love his attitude. I love what he did yesterday when Darius Slay was trying to troll him, walking around. I don't know if you saw it, the video, but for those who didn't see it, Darius Slay grabbed the Hurts jersey, slapped his name tag on the back, and walked around Hurts' press conference, basically taunting him. And Hurts basically told him to take off his jersey. And when the Slay was gone, he turns back to the reporter and says, "Can you repeat your question now the distraction is gone?" I love how he handles his business. But I want to see how this plays out, because we know that it doesn't matter how intelligent, how great of a leader you are, the NFL can eat you alive, Dave.
Yeah, it can. But you saw a taste of it last year. I mean, he got his feet wet at the end of last season, and I think he proved that the NFL was not too big for him. That he's ready to step up the next level too. I mean, he had his ups and downs. He had some great games. He had some not so great games. But by and large, I think for the most part, he showed that he's an NFL player, and he proved that last year. And I'm just looking forward to seeing his progress this year. Like you said, fourth new offense in 4 years, whole new terminology system. So it's going to take a little bit of time for him to master it, but I have no doubt that he will. I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan, to be honest with you. I like you mentioned, he's a tremendous leader, and he showed in that clip that he's a no nonsense kind of guy. I mean, he's going to have fun, but he knows when it's time to get down to business. So he's not going to let anybody make fun of him or take advantage of him, and I think that's a good trait to have in a quarterback and as a leader too.
Who is a player that we haven't discussed yet that you're looking forward to seeing tomorrow who's not named Jalen Hurts?
Well, I listed a couple. Josh Sweat is one that intrigues me. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get, but from what I understand, he's had a pretty good training camp to this point. Again, take that with a grain of salt, but he had a pretty good year last year, I thought, in a rotational role. So, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to see how he fares. Jordan Mailata, he's gotten a lot of attention, with his battle with Andre Dillard. So I'm kind of looking to see how both of those guys play tomorrow. See if if Dillard can maybe close the gap a little bit in that duel. There's a couple guys. I mean, Jalen Reagor didn't have a preseason last year, so I'd like to see what he can do. And of course, Jalen Hurts. Everybody knows that all eyes are going to be in him. And on a local level, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing Abdullah Anderson, who plays for the Steelers. He's in his first year of the Steelers, trying to earn a job as a backup role, maybe practice squad guy, Absegami High School graduate. And so I'm going to be watching him too.
Yeah, he had a sack last week in the Hall of Fame game. And for those who didn't get to see it, the video is on 97.3 ESPN.com. It's hilarious listening to Joe Buck describe it, because he basically says, basically describes it as, Anderson basically blindsiding DiNucci. When they show it in slow-mo, like DiNucci had no idea it was coming. So it's a fun video to watch. It's over on the website, because I just,
cool.
You know me, Dave. I'm one of those people, I enjoy seeing the local guys do well.
Oh, me too.
No matter
Absolutely.
any way at the next level. And, someone who's a good person like Abdullah Anderson is as well. I got to chat with him about a month ago locally at an establishment. And, it's just, he's a good human being. And I just want to see him do well.
Yeah, me too. I root for all the local guys. And I'm kind of disappointed that Lawrence hasn't gotten an opportunity to after the Jaguars let him go. He was with the Giants for about 15 minutes, and they let him go. I know he was really heavily affected by COVID. I had it twice, as a matter of fact.
Right.
So, but I'm hoping that some team is going to give him an opportunity, because I do think that he's an NFL running back. All he needs is another chance, and I'm hoping that he gets it at some point.
And we know that Jack Crawford signed late last night with the Arizona Cardinals. So
no kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he just signed. It was after 8 p.m. Eastern time when the Cardinals announced it. So.
Oh wow.
It's
not
one
with
of those
the Titans anymore. Huh?
No, he's not. But the Cardinals need some defensive line help. They had to stick somebody on the injured reserve list, and he signed just in time for, ironically, to go against one of his former teams in the preseason Friday night versus the Cowboys. So there you go.
That's it. There's a lot of former teams in Jack, but yeah, that's great. I mean, he's he's a testament to what you can accomplish if you just persevere and dedicate yourself. I mean, he never played football in his life coming over from England. He came to St. Augustine Prep as a basketball player, wound up not being eligible to play, and joined the football team, went from there to Penn State, from there to Atlanta. No.
He got drafted by the Raiders.
Raiders, Cowboys, Falcons.
Then Falcons, yep.
Titans. And now he's getting the chance with the Cardinals. I think this might be his 10th year, which is incredible when you consider that, because the shelf life of an NFL player is like 5 years maybe. So for him to last a decade, that's a real tribute to him.
Yeah, he's on his 5th different NFL team training camp with the Cardinals. So, and by the way, it's not a bad gig. Last year you had Mike Vrabel as your head coach. This year you're playing, potentially working next to J.J. Watt. So.
Sure.
Not a bad last 2 years for Jack Crawford, to say the least.
Very true. Yep.
Dave Weinberg joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Dave, the Phillies finally lost last night, but they are in a very interesting situation, because if you go by the odds makers, Bryce Harper, Zach Wheeler both have a chance right now to win their big respective awards. Zach Wheeler is considered the favorite for the Cy Young right now with no DeGrom around. And you have a guy in Harper who, if Fernando Tatis stays injured, Harper could slide right in there for the MVP. And, the last time the Phillies had a Cy Young and MVP on the same team was 1980. A couple of Hall of Famers, Steve Carlton and Mike Schmidt.
Right. That's interesting. Harper certainly didn't show it last night, but he is having a very good year. I guess I never really, to be honest with you, I never thought of him in the MVP conversation, but I guess you have to now. And Wheeler, you're right. I mean, he's had an outstanding season. He's definitely among the front runners, if not the front runner. So it'd be interesting to see how that all pans out. Yeah, I never even thought about that. But yeah, it's been a long time since the Phillies have had 2 of those. That's true. On the same team. Yeah,
and the other thing is that I was mentioning this last night. As Dave Weinberg has a phone.
Excuse my phone. No. That's right. Go ahead.
Your phone wants to get a word in the conversation.
I'm one of the 2 people in the country with a landline. So.
Well, I'm the third person then. Okay. So,
okay. All right.
I have but part of that's because the house is in the middle of nowhere. When you live in Belle Plaine, you don't exactly have the greatest cell phone signal. So.
Oh my goodness, Belle Plaine. Yeah, that's out there. That's for sure.
Yeah. So.
Do they have running water there and stuff? Or,
well, it's well water. It's well water. Okay.
Okay.
So.
Enough said.
But anyway, so what I was saying is that, to me, I think Wheeler has a much better chance of winning his award than Harper does, obviously.
Right.
Although Tom Moore from the Bucks County Courier-Times shot me down last night, to me, I think it's a Wheeler 85%, a Harper 50% chance. And Tom told me it's probably less than that, but, I told him we'd agree to disagree. So.
No, that's okay. Yeah, at least I think you might be right there. I think Wheeler has the better chance.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I know this is probably a controversial topic, but there is no way they should have retired Roy Halladay's number. I'm sorry. I just don't. Okay. I don't get it at all. Why they did that? Well,
I mean, I can give you the talking points reason. It's one of those things where he was an endearing figure. He had a very short but very memorable career in Philadelphia, and a lot of people felt like they should honor him after he passed away. That's why. I mean, okay,
then put him in the Wall of Fame if you want to. But I mean, there were 6 guys before him that got their numbers retired. You're talking about the legends of the Phillies. Richie Asper and Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton. Like you mentioned, he had a short career in Philly. Granted, he had a great year in 2010, and a very good year in 2011. The last 2 years, not so much. I just don't think he's a Toronto Blue Jay in my eyes, and I just don't think he was here long enough to merit that kind of prestigious award to have your number retired. And I just can't. If you look at, say, a statistics, a buddy of mine did that. You compare his stats with John Denny or Cliff Lee, and you'll find that Cliff Lee blows him out of the water. And but his number's not retired, so I don't get it. I mean, I understand wanting to honor the guy. If you want to have a ceremony and you want to put him in the Wall of Fame, I think they might have done that already. I don't know, but then go ahead. But the number thing, I just don't agree with it at all.
I would say this, and I'll. How about this? I'll pile on to your controversy. How about that? If
Sure.
Roy Halladay was still alive, his number wouldn't be retired.
No, absolutely not. You're right. You're right. I mean, it's the circumstances of his passing, which are controversial in of itself, would kind of maybe put that probably has a major reason for why he's there, why they did it. You're right, but I think it's an overreaction. Honestly, that's just me though. I mean, granted, he was a great player. He was,
yeah,
Hall of Famer, no doubt, but with the Toronto Blue Jays, not with the Phillies.
Well, and also the fact that, his number gets retired. He mentioned how few guys had the number retired before two guys who won MVPs in Phillies uniforms. I think that, Jimmy Rollins and Ryan Howard
right,
have to have that conversation, right?
And throw Chase Utley in there too. Yep.
Right. So you have, and those guys won a World Series before Halladay ever got here. One of the things people forget about that era of Phillies is that, and I'm not trying to, throw anybody on the bus, but no offense to Halladay, but he came here after they already won a World Series.
Yeah, he wasn't in the World Series.
They were trying to extend that window. The whole point of bringing Halladay in here was they were trying to build on the window from 2008. And
Correct.
At the end of the day, they had to bring Cliff Lee back because having Halladay and Hamels wasn't enough, right? Remember, Pedro Martinez was pitching the 2009 World Series, for goodness sake.
True.
So to me, I think people forget how talented and how great guys like Rollins and Howard and Utley were, and that they were literally the foundation pieces of that run. People loved the pitching because at one point you had Halladay and Lee and Hamels and Oswalt, right? And everyone, the big four horsemen, or whatever they called them at the time.
Four aces or something.
Right, the four aces, right. But guess what? Before three of those guys showed up, it was them literally hitting the ways to get. I love what Jimmy Rollins said on the broadcast one day. He said, we knew we had to go out there and score 5, 6, 7, 8 runs a night to win.
Right.
And we were going to do it. And that's really why they won, because they literally smashed their way into the postseason for 3 straight years.
Very true. I mean, and if you want to go back earlier than that, why isn't Darren Dalton's number retired?
There you go,
He was the face of the Phillies for so many years, and a leader in the clubhouse and in the community. Met an unfortunate, untimely death, and if you're going to do that, I mean, number 10, I guess he was number 10, right? Yeah, you could combine him with Larry Bowa at the same thing, and it would be 2 players for the uniform of 1. So, there's a lot of guys throughout Phillies history that have had an impact with the team, been there a long time. Played very well, were leaders and pillars in the community, and their numbers were not retired. So I don't know why you would pick this one to do it, but I guess they had their reasons. So you're right. If I imagine his passing had something to do with it, a lot to do with it actually. But I think they made a mistake in this case.
By the way, speaking of Rollins, I gotta say he is turning into my favorite part-time guy on the Phillies broadcast, because I feel like every time he's on the broadcast, he either says or explains something that I never would have thought of. That is an excellent point, an excellent explanation of something that we saw. I wish we had more Jimmy Rollins on these broadcasts, because, listen, no offense to Ben Davis, but he's Captain Obvious. And, Kruk, I understand he kind of comes off as everybody's favorite grumpy uncle, but, like, when Jimmy's on the broadcast, he legitimately, you learn something from him every time.
Yeah, I mean that's the secret to a good analyst or broadcaster, the ability to teach you about the game, especially with former players. They have an insight that we just don't have, and they can lend their expertise to something that and then you wind up thinking, oh yeah, I never really thought about it that way, but you're right, and Jimmy's very good at that. You're right. I enjoy him as well.
All right, Dave, before I let you go, I seen on social media that you were golfing a good amount this past week. You bounced around a lot.
Yes, I was.
So I want to know from you, not some photography skills, even though the picture of the geese was pretty cool.
Thanks.
I want to know from you, can you give me, maybe you can't rank them off the top of your head, but give me an idea of your favorite places to play golf in South Jersey.
Oh, in South Jersey? Oh, boy. I don't want to slight anybody because I really enjoy all the courses.
Right.
Atlantic City is my favorite. Atlantic City Country Club, just the prestige and the history and the course. I really love that one. I like Seaview's Bay Course where the LPGA is played. I enjoy Blue Heron. I enjoy Twisted Dune a lot. I'm a member at Cape May National, so I'm a little partial to there. There's I got to say, there's 6, 7, 8 courses in South Jersey, just in Cape May and Atlantic counties that are on par with anything in the state, I think, almost anything. And, I've played courses all over the country, to be quite honest with you. And I would rank them right up there with any that I played.
There you go. Dave Weinberg, who knows way more about golf than I do, right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. At Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Extra Point Comms over at 97.3 ESPN.com. And, of course, don't forget the podcast, Tequila and Touchdowns, with Dave Weinberg.
There'll be a new one coming up on Friday, I promise.
There you go. New one coming up on Friday. There you go. So now what you got to do is you got to go subscribe. Make sure you have the alert on your phone. And that way when the podcast comes out, you get alerted of it. It's how the system works, right?
That's right. Yep.
Dave, I always appreciate you jumping on. And I'm sure we'll be talking plenty of Eagles for the next few weeks coming up.
Yep. Thanks, Josh. I look forward to it. Thanks again, as always.